Anything?
Says we are live, and I see it. I think I see it on the Facebook page. Well, hey, out there, I'm hoping that we've got some viewers, but I don't know how to see if we do or not because this is our first. Oh, we got 4. All right, we have 4 folks.
Okay.
Um, 4 live through the looks like YouTube feed. Yep, Margaret says she can hear us. That's awesome. Thanks. Hi, Margaret. So maybe we'll get a minute or two and see if people roll in. But while we're doing that, welcome everybody. This is our first live cast for Pathtags.com. Rusty and I had this crazy idea that us old fellers, and Vicky's gonna hit me, Honeychile's gonna smack me, but we were trying to figure out this new technology, and we thought it might be nice to get out in front of everybody once in a while. And considering it is 16 years of Pathtags tonight, officially today, August 8th or August 17th, is the 16th anniversary of Pathtags. So we thought we'd kick it off with a live cast, and we have a great guest with us tonight, which is Honeychile.
Thank
So
you.
welcome. Thanks for joining
Welcome.
us. Um,
Glad
when
to be here.
we were talking, and we were saying, we should do this. We can get out and see people virtually more these days. It's harder to get around to all the mega events and stuff like that, but it's great to put ourselves out there, make ourselves available somehow. And we said, who could we have for our very first guest? And we both said Honeychild would be awesome. And I'm like, I don't even know if we could get her, but you were very accommodating and said absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And we have one comment here from somebody who said they always pronounced it honey chili.
People do that, yes. But see, we're down south. I'm in North Carolina.
Right?
So it's honeychile, y'all.
Honey
Yeah.
child, y'all. Yep,
Hmm.
yep. So, all right. So 16 years of Path Tags, and we're celebrating it with this live cast, and we're so happy and privileged to have Honey Child, the inventor of the very first or the designer and creator of the very first Path Tag 5016. And so our show number is 5016 because we felt it was appropriate to start our show numberings at the same numbers we started our Path Tag numbering at. And so the first path tag, which is the 5016, the famous Honeychild path tag, was officially submitted for production on August 17th, 2006 at 2:21 p.m. Eastern time. So we're just a little bit over 16 years from that first time. It was standard 23 millimeter round. That's all we did then. That's all we still do for the most part. We still have shapes available, but this is by far the most popular version of a path tag is the round one with the little hole in it. So pretty exciting. And of course, I wanted to say happy birthday to you.
Woohoo!
So I don't know if a lot of people knew this. I found out this talking to Honey Child before prepping for the show that yesterday was actually her birthday, I think.
Yep.
Happy
So-
birthday.
Actually, thank you. Actually, it was on my birthday that I sent the information to you, and you probably didn't look at it till the next morning. But that is when we've been talking about this path tag thing, and it was time to submit a design, and so I did it on my birthday. As I recall, I believe someone had given me a little bit of money for my birthday, and I was like, "Oh, I know exactly where I'm going to put that," and so put it on this new thing.
And then yeah, so it was interesting that you submitted the tag to us on your birthday, and then the next day became the birthday of Path Tags. So you guys, you're very closely associated with Path Tags, and we were talking in our prep about. I'm not quite sure you realize your popularity or your mythology within the Path Tag community. Like, Path Tag 5016 is one of the most sought after path tags, and we were saying you are sort of akin to the mountain bike of path tagging, right?
Oh my goodness.
So
Well, I knew that it was the first public tag. I figured that you guys had done some tags in advance to kind of check this out, but I was kind of you, to let mine be the first. But my sister and I were reading later, and we were doing some research on something else, and somebody had said, "Oh, well, 5016, that's the holy grail of path tags." And I was like, "What? The holy grail?" Well, okay, but it has been very popular, and it's been a good tag for me. And very plain, very simple.
Well, it's interesting because I love the profile text that you chose for it, right? Looking back now, it's really amusing to me to see like the part I highlighted. Um, you said I named it "Catch the Buzz" because geocaching is such an up and coming hobby, and in 2006, we weren't too far down the path. With
No. I think I started in 2002. What about you?
I also started in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
I
Um,
started in 2000.
ooh.
Oh, you got that can of beans.
Yeah, I started actually. I started in 2002 in February, and by April, I was completely like in it. I was totally addicted to
Mm-hmm.
geocaching, and
Mm-hmm.
that's actually how I met Rusty. Was I was living in Michigan then. Rusty was as well, still is, and I was so excited about geocaching. I was like, we got to create a club for this in Michigan, and so I ended up talking with Rusty and a couple other friends, and next thing you know, we'd started Michigan Geocaching
Wow.
organization together. So
Well, I think I heard about geocaching on Will Wheaton's blog.
Okay.
That's where I heard
Will
about
Wheaton,
it.
all right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I just read the word geocaching, and to me, that just seemed just so adventurous and magical. And I was like, "What is this? I want to get into it." And I didn't have the resources to purchase what I needed to do, but my husband knew somebody that was selling a boat, and they had an old handheld Garmin, and we arranged for me to pay for it on the Never Never plan, and that's how I got started.
Oh yeah, I read it in a newspaper article that a friend handed to me, and then we were like, well, we obviously have to go try this.
Right,
Um,
exactly. Well, and I'm not the type to say, "Oh, Vicky, let's go on a hike." Well, no, that's not really me. But if you say, "Well, there's a treasure at the end of this hike," hey, I'm your girl.
Makes it worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
so obviously, I think the bee is probably a direct tie to the honeychile.
Right.
So, but you were also doing bumblebee or bumble buttons, right, at the
That's
time?
right. Yep, yep. And I still do that from time to time. And these were just about a 2.25 inch uh, pin back metal button that I made. That in the early days, that was a size that was good to leave as swag to trade, for something else. And now that's gotten a little large. I have a 1 inch button also, but yeah, that's how I got started with that. And then when I found out about the coins, that's when I started working with you guys, designing a few coins, and then here came Path Tags.
Yeah, I was actually we were talking, and one of the things I tried to do was to go back and find those original emails between us. I mean, so for those of you who've not been ordering path tags since 2006, it was a very different process then. Pathtags.com was really just a gallery, to be honest. It was a gallery of the path tags that had been made. Um, and you actually went to geocoinstore.com and you placed your order there,
Right.
and you made your payment there. And then we had a process that would load the orders from geocoinstore.com to pathtags.com every night. And then that allowed us to do the order processing, very similar on the back end for the order processing to what we do today. But it was an interesting thing. So I was trying to find that original artwork that you submitted, right? Because I was so
Oh
curious to
boy.
see. I couldn't find it. It's been lost to antiquity. Unfortunately, those first images were stored on the GeoCoin store server, and somehow or another along the way, we've lost that directory of the. But I did find um, an email from you, which I thought was funny, and I thought a lot of people watching would appreciate, which was blueprint revisions.
I knew you were going to
Yeah.
rat me out on this.
So it was, this is like the dreaded thing that a lot of people deal with path tags, and we want people to reject them if they don't like what they see, or there's an issue or something they want to address. Because once you push the approve button, it's, you know, it's all set in stone. You know, the die is cast, as they say. But it was interesting because we had the same basic process then as we do now. We did your blueprint, we got it back, and we presented it to you, and you asked us to make a couple of changes. So I thought that was kind of a funny thing, right? So even the very first path tag,
It was a predictor. Yeah.
yeah, even the very first path tag, we got to exercise the revision process. So which is probably one of the most important processes in Pathtags, you know, for making sure that a customer can get exactly what they want before it goes in production. But this is how it came back. And then this was the email we sent to the factory. You know, she would like the text to be moved, and she'd like to use these colors instead of this color. And this is the second version that came back. So you can kind of flip back and forth, and you can see the slight changes that got made. And this version here on the screen is the one that was ultimately approved and became 5016.
Well, I think that tells you more about how persnickety I am than the process.
Well, I mean, that's great. I mean, everybody should be persnickety about their path tag, in my opinion, because it's, you know, it's permanent, right? And they're something we hope everybody, you know, loves when they get them, and they, you know, use them and share them with friends and stuff. So we want you guys to be super picky.
Well, every time I order a refill, I'm just as excited about that. You know, I open it up and spread them all out and play Midas, and yeah.
So let me see. We have a few questions that we could start with. The reminiscing machine too was pretty awesome. When and this is how it turned out. So we have a picture of it, and that is your hand holding
it. It is.
Pretty sure that's on your Pathag profile, and that's your geocoin next to it.
Right.
That was also something we worked with you on pretty early, so it was cool.
Well, that was really how I got to know you guys, was working with me on the geocoin, which I still, you know, really, really appreciate the assistance that you gave me with that, because I really wanted to get into that, but I just didn't have the resources, and you guys were so helpful. And it was so much fun for somebody that had the, you know, kind of design background that I did. It was just great. And then I did that. Now that's the only coin that I did for myself, but I went on to design quite a few for other people, and quite a few path tags too. It's been a really fun ride.
Yeah, it's that's an interesting you know, little side story there. Like we started off obviously as the Geocoin Club, right? And that's our business name. So pathtags.com is owned by Geocoin Club LLC. And what happened, we started the Geocoin Club kind of on a lark. You know, we were sitting around a campfire. I remember at a geocaching event, and Rusty and I were talking. We're like, wouldn't it be neat if, you know? And so we gave it a shot, and it was more successful than we anticipated. So we kind of started getting inquiries from people at that point. Can you make us geocoins? And we were like, sure, we can make you geocoins. But when we started telling them how much it was going to cost to make a geocoin, that was when they started going, ooh, you know. And so early on, we actually did have that setup where for the people coming to us and people we knew, like yourself, who wanted to make a coin, we kind of worked out a deal where you would get so many, and we would make so many, and then we would sell some on our website to recoup, you know, the cost. And it worked out really well for everybody. And that process, we started Geocoin Club in 2005, and then
almost 1 year exactly before path tags.
Yeah, exactly. We launched August 2005 with the Geocoin Club. You're right. And then early in 2006, we started talking and saying, man, we got so many people coming to us and saying, can you make me a geocoin? And then walking away when we tell them that it's, you know, over $1,000, right? So that started the process and the conversations that ultimately led to Pathtags launching, because we were like, we want to be able to give people that experience, right? But in a more accessible, affordable way, but encapsulating a lot of the same stuff that makes a geocoin awesome, right? They're made of metal, they last forever, they're personal, they're colorful, right? And then we wanted to provide some interactive features for it as well, so that people could maintain their collection and trade through the mail and online and stuff like that. So that's kind of where Pathtags originated, was some of the work we were doing with people like you early on with geocoins, and that experience we had with people like you, where it was like, yeah, this is not as accessible to the masses as it could be, and so that's really how Pathtags came around. Another fun little tidbit of history, and this is actually inspired by Patrick's comment there. I'm going to move you to the top so everybody can see your. Patrick has asked, why do we start with the number 5016, right? And you and I talked about this the other night.
Uh-huh.
It's really funny. We meant to start with 5,000, and we meant to do that because we wanted to give the impression that it wasn't starting from zero, right? It was a bit of a trick. It was a marketing thing we tried to do.
New checking account thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, nobody wants to be first, right? So we started at 5,000. We thought that was a good arbitrary. Yeah, like your checkbook. Like that's what you said. Nobody starts their checkbook at check number one either, right?
You can do that, but nobody will take that first check. So yeah.
Right. But we kind of knew you were going to jump in and do an order, and you and I had been going back and forth, and so I was just kind of keeping you up to date as to when the website would launch and be ready. And that day, August 17th, well, actually it was the day before. August 16th is when we started being able to take orders. I placed 15 test orders to make sure that things were working well, and totally forgot to reset the counter. And then I told you, it's all good, go ahead. And you placed the order, and then we had a few more orders come through that week. And by the time I realized that we had actually started at 5016, I was like, I'm not even going to go back and adjust everything. I'm just going to let it roll. So that was that's the reason why we started at 5016. And it's kind of just a funny story now. It's like, well, trains left the station, and nothing I can do about that at this stage. I could have, but I just thought no one's gonna care. But funny, yeah, it's a funny story about why did it start at 5016. So now you have 2 Pathtags of your own, or do you have more now?
I just have 2.
Yeah, you have the 2. You have this one and the purple one. And by the way, if you're listening live, we do have a contest. Honeychile has generously offered to give away a little swag pack at the end of the live cast. You don't have to be on to win, but you do have to go enter. So if you go to pathtags.com/contest, log in with your Pathtags account, and there's just a button there to enter. That's all you have to do. Once you hit the button, you're in the drawing, and at the end of the show, we will talk about the giveaway, and we'll pull a winner. So thank you for doing that, by the way.
You bet.
And it's a really cool pack, and it also, this is hopefully going to blow some people's minds, but it includes one of the 5016 tags with the very original backside. So
I had to go in the Wayback Machine to find that.
Way back.
way back. Yeah. So
that's actually another interesting little story is the tag backs. You were, these were all the things we were learning at the time that you guys were placing these first orders. We started to realize that some of the first tags were going to be very popular with collectors, right, over time. And then we realized that you could refill tags at any time. We thought, well, somebody who's a little nefarious could, abuse that, so we thought we need to do something to help people know when a tag was created that they've received, right? And so the very first tag, let me see if I can bring up that this thing here. This was the tag back. You see the track me at.
Right.
It was just, I think it was actually stamped in, and there was no
Very
color
basic.
at all. Yeah. And it was very small, and we changed it pretty early because people kept telling us, because it was small and it wasn't filled in, that they thought it said track meat,
Oh, that's funny. Now,
MEAT.
I thought that you changed it because the tags weren't actually tracked. They weren't really moving.
It is
They
another
were
reason.
they were logged, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. We fell into our geocaching trackables bias because we
Hmm.
had been
Hmm.
doing geocoins exclusively up to then, and we used the word track, and yeah, we did that as well to avoid confusion. We changed it to log me at, and then we actually introduced the tag back we have today, which is the standard one. It's a little bit more graphical.
Right.
I didn't have it prepared to pull up, but
I think
it
it's
has
got the logo on there. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I've
and
got one here. I don't know if you probably can't see that. It's probably reflecting too much, but yeah, got the logo on there.
yeah, actually,
Yeah.
that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. Actually, what's interesting is one you held up is one of them, but like this one uh,
Oh yeah.
is probably the first one. It only says, please log this tag at pathtags.com with our logo. Later, we added the letter A. And so the idea was we were going to have these mint marks, and the mint marks were going to be able to help you understand when that tag was made. But then what began happening is we started getting requests for custom tag backs, and we ended up starting to offer many backsides for people to choose from.
Tell them
And
about the numbers too. That was interesting. That both my tags have the same number. I thought it
oh,
was
that's right.
interesting what you said about that.
Well, that's true. So when we launched Path Tags, we also were kind of thinking that people would these were that's our tagline. Who have you crossed paths with?
Right.
And we were really focusing more on the person than the item because we didn't want it wasn't we didn't want the tag to be tracked necessarily. Um, so your first tag and your second tag both have the same serial number on the back. And at that time, we didn't have the option to, roll your own like the vanity codes we do now. What ended up happening pretty early on though was people were saying, "Oh, I made this tag. Now you know, my cousin, my sister, my father, they're getting into this, and I would like to transfer my tag to them so they can use it and reorder it and stuff." And we're like, "Ooh, we hadn't thought about people wanting to do that." Uh, So we ended up scrambling really quickly, and now a lot of the, more of the tracking and then things in the gallery and stuff are done by the tag numbers, like 5016 versus the serial number on the back for that reason. And so the first tags did, a lot of the early customers and the early charter tags all have the same number on the back. Um, and so sometimes when you log them, and so if you get this 5016 tag that honeychile's so generously putting in the contest, then when you log it, it's actually going to pop up a window and say which of these two tags
Hmm.
are you logging, because the numbers are the same, the serial numbers are the same, and you'll have to choose this one, the one with the honeybee on it. Now the other tag has like a lady who's dressed like a honeybee.
Well, it's kind of a pinup sort
Okay.
of look. Let's see, I've got one here, but I'm not sure you can see that. Maybe, kind of. And I think it's 5249. I'm not positive, but I think that's right. It's also one of I did it about a year after I did the original. I decided I would do another one. And it's something I had also used on just some personal stuff. So it's kind of a bee girl. Yeah, dressed up like a bee. And there's an interesting thing about that one, too. When I started out, well, things were just, everybody was learning. So things were a little bit more loose then. But when I started out, I had the background on that one to be a gold, and I thought, oh, that would look good, like very much like the background that you guys are in front of now. But when it came back, there we go. But when it came back, the gold just wasn't enough contrast. It just was hard to see. And so I almost immediately reordered that and changed the background color to the purple, which I've used ever since. So there are 125 with the gold yellow background out there somewhere.
Okay.
And so there's just a little, if you're looking for that was, and I used those up pretty quickly, and then
I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, either.
Yeah. So there's a few of those, and I've actually had less. Let's see. Less of those minted. I thought people might be interested in how many were out there, how many were minted. And now, of course, I've got a few here, so they haven't all, gotten into circulation. But the Stinger and Abel, that's the one you're looking at right now. There have been 725 of those.
Okay.
And then the first one that I did, there have been 875. And that, to me, that's an astonishingly low number when you consider, how long I've been in geocaching and how long the path tags. But I generally leave them in caches. I've done some trading by mail, but I generally don't do that much anymore. I prefer to just put them in a cache and people find them, which I think is more fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a little more history too. Is like the hole, right? If you go to our homepage here, I think it's under Learn More About Designing, but there's pictures where you can see they're on a pegboard. I don't know where it is now on the website. I should know these things, but I guess I have lost track of them. There we go. That's what our path tags. There they are. So here, you can see this picture of them being on a pegboard, and we had envisioned that this would be the primary way that people would display them, right? So they needed a hole so they could hang on these pegs. And then we thought, well, these keychains, right? These keychains will be handy as well, because they could just put a few on a keychain, put the keychain on their backpack, and then when they're geocaching, they can take one off and leave it in a cache. And what we found, and there's the yellow one.
Yellow one right about there.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny, actually. I looked at this picture looking for one of your tags, and I didn't recognize it because I was looking for the purple one. So we thought people would put these on a pegboard like this or on a keychain. And what has always been amazing about the path tag community is their creativity, right? Almost immediately, people figured out that these were magnetic, which is something we hadn't really tuned into ourselves, and that became the primary way that people build display boards, right? They cut out the little holes, and you had a nice, I think, box or something we looked at the other night, right?
Oh, I've got a little necklace here.
There's your necklace, yeah.
That has my path tag in it. I'm not sure you can see that.
Yeah.
But it's magnetic and it's held in there. And I bought this not obviously to hold a path tag. It held there we go. It held a little, can you see that? It held a little button. And I was looking at it and I thought, that is about the same size as my path tag. And so this particular little necklace thing was made to swap out the buttons. So I swapped it out with a path tag. And that's what I usually wear this to like events and stuff, just a little.
I really like that.
Yeah, you guys should get on the ball and make something like this. I mean, that's cute.
Yeah, it is really cute. That's
and
really
then you
nice.
can swap it, for others.
Right. It's how people display them is one of the things we like to talk about too. Like, do you have a display, or do you I keep mine in a box? I do have. We used to sell these acrylic displays that would hold 80 in them, and I've got a whole line of those up my wall. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of those, so I can almost have 900 tags or 800 tags.
I don't really have a tremendous amount, but the ones that I designed when I made my little deal for to design for someone, it always included that I would get one of their path tags too. So
Okay.
I put them on the side of an ammo box with magnets.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'll take that to an event too, just so people can see it, because it's real fun to look at some of those older tags. And the very oldest one, now this is just in my opinion, were better designs because they were simple. The simple designs, were, in my opinion, just better, that you can, look at and see. With my bee girl, for example, I think that design's really a little complex, because I always felt like I needed to give somebody the path tag and then give them a little magnifying glass, so they could appreciate all the nuances of the design. But sometimes simple is just better. And I think that's another reason the bees, just an iconic, very simple design. I think I maybe spent 20 or 30 minutes on it, if that. I was already using a similar design, so I just sort of digitized that and went with that.
I agree, actually, completely with that sentiment that simple is better. I think the funniest thing a lot of times when people are like, I want, a dog and a pizza and my state flag and my horoscope sign, and
right.
And
as a designer, that was really hard to say, well, this might be a little bit too much here. Yeah. I want a bathtub and a bear in it and holding. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah. I was going to put this up on the screen too. This is the, see the little A in the standard. It's a little hard to see, but I'll try and zoom in. Right here, where it says A, that's the mint mark, right? That we were going to cycle through. And then we ended up with so many different tag backs that we just thought.
I think things got a little busy for you guys too, right then. Pretty quickly.
Yeah, it was difficult to kind of keep track of it and be like, oh, now it's time to cycle through. So I'm looking at some of the stuff here. So somebody asked how many different path tags have been made so far. That's actually always on our website. So if you come to pathtags.com and you look at just the facts, you can see the calendar, the ticker. Today we have 44,607 tags. Now, to your point, I mean, they're not all 100% unique. Like you were describing that you did different versions of the Stinger one. So that counts as two. We count them that way because once we get a configuration set up with the customer on a different version, by keeping it with that number, right, it makes it easier to communicate in the future to say this is the version that the customer wants to have remade. And that's something I don't know if everybody is aware of, but when you make a tag, you can either refill it exactly as it was, but you can also come in here and we have a thing called order a path tag with changes. And when you do that, you can change some of the features of a previously made tag. So for example, with the Stinger one, you wanted a different color there in the background. As long as you don't change any of the metal features, we can reuse the mold, and then we don't have to charge a setup fee. So
does that get a separate number if I were to do that nowadays?
Yeah. That way we can keep track of that configuration to make it easier in the future when they go to production. So there's no confusion at the factory about which version, which colors.
One thing that kind of surprised me that we talked about the other night is that I was surprised that path tags is still almost totally geocachers. I would have thought that it would go to other things, because when I was designing, now that was, a long time ago in those early years, but I remember designing for a chemistry club, I believe. And, for other things that were unrelated to geocaching, people just thought this was a cool thing. And I remember somebody ordered them to give away, like maybe, I can't remember what the occasion was, but they were using them for zipper pulls, putting them on a zipper, on a special jacket. And I thought, oh, well, that's, a cool use of them. And I asked Mike if I could put it in the Aldi shopping cart. But
I'm pretty sure.
We weren't sure about that.
I actually think that they would work in the Aldi shopping.
Well, somebody might be disappointed not to get their quarterback.
They
get the bee girl.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that. It'd be kind of an interesting, what is this? and then maybe they log it. You know what? One of the interesting, since we're storytelling a little bit, and this will be like one of those things where I'm like the old grandpa. Like, this is our first live cast, but by the 6th live cast, you guys are gonna be like, Mike, you've told that story like 8 times. But like one of my favorite stories is actually we would get emails. Sometimes we still do, but we get emails from people say, I found these keys and they have this thing on it.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's cool.
and then we're able to look up who owns that tag.
Wow.
There's been several times we've been able to connect them with the keys owners.
Wow, that's pretty neat. Well, I'll tell you something else that was interesting about the first is you gave away a little, I don't know what it was, a little thing to put that would hold a few path tags, like maybe 6 or something. And I remember when I first got my path tags and I got this little clip thing, I thought, oh, well, I'll never meet 6 other geocachers. So, there'll be a long time before I fill that up. I can remember looking back and saying, wow, if I was willing to drive just a little bit, I could find 100 geocaches. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
And just things, when I said things got a little busy for you, they got busy for geocaching and, everybody there for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And no, that's totally true. I don't remember in 06 how many there were exactly, but I remember in 2002 when we started Migo, we had 300 caches in Michigan, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
So if you had 100 finds, that was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that was tough.
You had a party. You had an event for 100 finds. Now you
Yeah.
can find 100 finds in the parking lot. It's kind of a different thing.
That's very true. That's very true. Actually, it's kind of a funny thing. Someone just posted this comment. They've seen a YouTuber using a path tag at Aldi's.
We'll have to look for that.
Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to see that video. If you find the video,
of course, if
Sean.
they didn't know what it was, they might, kind of feel like they got gypped not getting their quarterback. But if they knew what it was.
Yeah, I could. That could be actually an interesting livecast topic. Is maybe we could go around and find all these different YouTubes that have YouTube videos that have path tags in them, and maybe some of them they don't even realize what they got. But it's actually Texas state parks are kind of like that. There's a path tag in the gift shop of most Texas state parks.
Oh wow!
But the general public just thinks they're keychains.
They're sold as keychains or a path tag.
Yeah, so people walk in, they pick them up off the shelf, go, oh, look at this pretty tag, this pretty keychain for this state park, and then they kind of start picking up on the fact that each state park actually has a tag, and so they start collecting as keychains.
Right. That's clever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually in one of the state parks last fall, and went and searched them out in there in the store and found them, and I got one and was talking with them, and they said they're really popular in there. People just love them.
Okay.
I love this. So Sean clarified while we were talking that it was a grocery budgeting video. It was in his own video, and he was showing how he saved money by not using a quarter.
Oh no!
So
path tags cost more than a quarter. So
yes, perhaps it's not the best budgeting channel to be watching. I don't know, but that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I was putting this up here. This was a quick look too, since we're doing the 16-year kickoff today. On the left-hand side here, this was our very first homepage. And so, you'll notice there's not even a login button. You can't log in. You can't do anything on it. So, and then the one on the right is not today. That was just from a few days ago. But kind of an interesting, comparison, and you can see how we got a little bit better at branding. We got solid colors. We settled into pretty much the same color palette though. Yellow and blue's been our thing forever. Let me see here. We had some questions prepped. What's your username? I think that goes without saying. What was your first path tag design and why? I think we've covered that. When did you start? And how did you find out? I think that's an interesting question. How did you find out? Did we kind of went around, I think, and we were trying to find people.
Yeah, I was designing coins with you guys, so that's how we kind of got to know each other. After I did mine, then I was like, oh, well, this was I think I'd like to do this again. And so I started doing some coins, and I was a customer too. And I think that, because of that, we kind of, you told me you were thinking about this concept, and I was like, oh, this is really good, because it was kind of like the everyman's geocoin, something that, almost anyone would have the resources to make something like this. And which excited me, because I'm a thrift store shopper and like that. So yeah, that was right up my alley. And then because it was small, it was easy to design and fun. And so I think, as soon as you told me, okay, we pulled the trigger time, I was like 30 minutes later, okay, here's my design, I'm in. And I think also, to be fair, I believe you had given all the people that you had lined up to design, because you knew there were going to be people needed to design, need somebody to help them design this. And this was back in the days before, everybody had Photoshop and like that. And so you had lined some of us up and offered us a kind of a deal. I mean, it was kind of a good one, as I recall, like maybe half off or something like that to do a path tag. And so I jumped on that too. In fact, when you run specials now, I'm your gal, I'm right there. But I think that was, kind of how it came about, as I heard about it. And like when I heard the word geocaching, I thought path tag, oh, that's a clever name. That's, that means something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we did try and get some people like yourself lined up, and some of them, most of the early guys are not, doing designing anymore, but we do still have design partners, and thanks to those design partners, by the way, they do the same thing you were doing then, which is, the biggest thing people have to figure out before they get a tag is what I want it to look like, right? And so having some professional help, like you guys,
and also kind of what they intend to do with it, I think sometimes helps a little bit, because for me, my tags are always intended as gifts. So when I leave them in a cache, I don't expect people to pick it up and take it somewhere else, or my expectations are that they will take it home and they will enjoy it. Now, if they, they want to give it to somebody else, or they want to pass it along, that's fine too. But that was my thinking, is that unlike a geocoin, which you expect to travel, and there are maps to watch it travel and all that, I personally never expect that out of my path tags. I just expect people to enjoy them and keep them and have a little tiny souvenir. It doesn't take up a lot of room.
Right.
And then that's something else that's changed too, guys, because, used to be the geocaches were all a 5-gallon bucket somewhere.
Yeah.
And so you could put a Beanie Baby in there, and that could be a travel bug. You could do a lot of things. And nowadays I find that there are, more and more smaller and smaller containers. And so it makes it difficult to put the larger geocoins, and also but the path tags sometimes will fit. Mike and I were talking about that. Sometimes they'll fit like in a film canister, a prescription bottle, that size, that general size, or key holder, magnetic key holder. They'll fit in there.
Yeah, actually, I still use them when I go geocaching. I bring them with me.
Carry some. Mm-hmm.
They fit into a lot of stuff still. Like there's still a lot of 35 millimeter canisters, not as much anymore, thanks to the digital advent.
Right.
I remember when I was a kid.
Well, now it's test strips. It's diabetes test strips bottles, are about the same size as the 35 millimeter canister. Mm-hmm.
I remember we used to be able to walk into Walgreens or whatever and be like, you go to the photo area and say, can we have 35 millimeter canisters? And they would say, how many you want? They give you a trash bag full of them.
Right. You're doing them a favor.
Yeah, and then we'd bring them to geocaching events, and people would either use them for I don't like them as cache containers. I'm just going to go on the record to say that. I don't think they hold up well enough. But what I did,
they leak, yeah.
Yeah. What we did use them for was we would make these things called Cedo containers. They were, cash and trash out. We'd stuff a garbage bag in them.
Mm-hmm.
I got a fun story sometime about getting stopped at customs on the way through Canada with a bag full of those. But yeah, then we give them to people, and the idea was you keep them in your pack, and when you're on the way back out from a cache, you had a nice easy trash bag to pull it out. When you get home, you can stuff another trash bag in there. So now you can't get those. but they still fit. The Pathtags will fit into pill bottles. We were even saying like the magnetic key things. They
or
fit.
the small lock and lock boxes, or anything that's smaller. And I think, well, the micro thing, it's always going to be around, but I think there is some interest in a little bit larger now, where where some coins can travel, or you can leave a little bit of swag. And I think families especially enjoy having some little treats there for the kids, to swap out. And
Yeah, and they've done a good job with expanding on some of that and encouraging it in the form of like lab caches and things like that, right?
Right.
Gadget caches.
Right.
I haven't done a lot of those, but the ones I've done have been super cool.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was at Midwest Geobash not long ago, and we were taking some kids around in a golf cart, and there was one where it was like a pinball machine, so you had to pull down and launch the actual little log container out of the top. They got a real kick out of that. That's some of the cooler ones.
Oh, those are, and I admire those so much. I'm over here with duct tape and toilet paper rolls. I can't build anything,
right,
but I really admire those. And I like to find them. I even like to see videos of, ones that I know maybe I won't get to, but I enjoy those.
So, we're gonna take a couple more questions, but I think we'll start to wind down. I mean, we don't want to make these too long, so people, have to spend their whole evening watching them. But it is nice to have a conversation, not rush it, and appreciate you joining us. One of the questions though was, how are the random tag backs assigned? They're just randomly assigned, actually. We have a random serial number generator. It generates one, checks to see if it's in use, and then if it's not, that's the one you get. So really not a whole lot of mystery or intrigue to that one. One of the questions was, are the original owners still the owners of Pathtags, or are there more or less now? We actually did start with 3 partners, and now we're just Rusty and I. But Rusty and I are from the beginning, and we've been kicking around the whole time. We do have, we consider ourselves a family-run business because we do have our family members help out a lot, with order processing and shipping, and especially if one of us wants to go on vacation, they take over and help a lot. And then were Pathtags always produced in China? Yes, they were always produced in China, and actually we still use the same production facility we always have. We tried others and they have not been good, and so we stick with our tried and true trusted partner. So and that's pretty much it. So I think now would be a good time. We can start the drum roll and the giveaway.
Okay. Do you want to see the things that are in the pack?
Yeah, give us a little tour.
All right. There's a little card here. Now, I did not make this card. Someone else did, but it tells a little bit of history. Then there's a little bag that the whole thing fits into. Then there's one of my 10-year reviewer coins. I was a reviewer for Groundspeak and retired just a few years ago. And then there's a tag for my 15-year reviewer tag. And then there's one of my B-Girl. Now, this is a fairly recent minting, but then in the little velvet bag here, there is one of the original back Pathtags from one of the very first, probably the very first set that I got. So now start the drum roll.
All right, here let's see if I can manage this. All right, so if you've been here, this is the contest giveaway page. This is going to be where if we ever do a contest, you can find it. But here's the pictures of what was just shown on the screen. If it's easier to see it this way, really nice set. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for offering to do this for the audience. It's pretty generous and amazing. So thank you. And we had 51 entries. So I'm going to click this button and we're going to reveal the winner. All right.
Okay.
And the winner is Koala Canuck. So we will find that
Koala
user.
Canuck watching us right now. Wasn't there like a bonus or something if that person was online?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Let's look it up. Russ, do you want to race me on that one? Let me get the admin tool up. We can find out.
Oh, Margaret says that's her username.
Margaret, really?
Are you kidding us, Margaret?
All right. Well, that's what it said. Let's see here. We'll just verify real quick. Trust but verify. You know what they say.
I do.
It's looking good, though. It's looking good based on the email, Margaret.
Oh, yeah.
You got it. All right. So
she said, yes, really? Okay.
There we go. All right.
Oh,
We've
that's
got
cool.
got a confirmed winner. We will get you a little bonus, which is going to be some path cash in your account as well. We'll work with honeychile to get the
shipping address. And
stuff
I'll ship it directly from here if you like.
Yeah. So thanks, everybody. Thanks especially honeychile for joining us and making this a really special occasion and a cool way to start off our 16-year celebration and our live cast series.
Many more successful years.
Thank you.
We do too. But thanks everybody for joining, and we will see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.